Welcome to our presentation. We will be discussing gender stereotyping in nursing, particularly in media and advertising. Our topic is significant because, as many of us know, the nursing profession is rich with gender stereotyping and gender roles. It's a profession that has long been associated as a female profession, although there are many men in the nursing workforce today. These stereotypes still exist, and I will be covering some of the historical aspects that have helped attribute to maintaining these stereotypes in our profession today. To my right is a portrait of Florence Nightingale. She is the founder of modern nursing, and as we also know her, the Lady with the Lamp. Her accomplishments are celebrated, and her philosophies are still very important components to nursing education and theory today. However, there are aspects of her work that are worth exploring where gender stereotyping and norms are concerned in modern day nursing. She did work to increase a woman's stature and widen their scope in the professional world, but this also involved placing certain constraints on the role of a nurse as one that is exclusively female. Okay, so aside from any cultural restraints that may have prevented men from gaining entrance into the nursing workforce, there was actually a huge factor that prevented men from entering nursing education programs at all. Before the Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, it was not illegal for nursing education programs to discriminate against men on the basis of their gender to allow entrance into their programs. These were things that happened often. And as you can see on the graph on the right, it is clear that after this amendment was passed, that the nursing profession saw a higher percentage of men over time. It did not increase rapidly, but you can see that there was a steady growth of men entering the profession from the 1980s to the mid-2010s.
Gender stereotyping in nursing today. In the past, women were expected to be the homemakers. It would be expected that they would stay at home and tend to household duties, whether it would be preparing dinner for the family, laundry, or tending to other responsibilities throughout the household. Males would be the ones who would be breadwinners of the family, have the higher salary pay, and were pictured in a business suit. Nursing in the past brought about sexism. It was highly discouraged of a male being in the nursing profession. The nursing industry in the past would portray nursing with images of women nurses walking the hospital floors and tending to the patients at the bedside. But, according to an article, Sexism in Nursing is a Problem but Not Like You Think, gives 6 great examples as to why men should become nurses. First, nurses are in high demand. There's always a nursing shortage. 2, rates starting and overall salaries. 3, some men and boys are more comfortable with male nurses. And 4, you can specialize in anything when it's been your dream of becoming in healthcare since childhood. 5, nursing allows you to be an outstanding example to young boys to break the gender stereotyping. And lastly, 6, work at a meaningful job and give back to others rather than sitting in a cubicle job. Male nurses in current society. Nursing, traditionally dominated by the women gender, has been increasing the number of males in the profession. Only 9% of the estimated 4 million nurses in the United States are men. However, these numbers are trending upwards, increasing to nearly 11% as more advanced degree opportunities arise. Since 2000, male RNs are enrolling themselves in graduate or doctoral programs. Studies have shown that male nurses are also being drawn into this career, specifically into the emergency departments and critical care units. But according to the article Men Battle Stereotypes in Nursing by Green Shoot Media, studies show that 70% of the responses in the study cited stereotypes as a major challenge still, with more males entering nursing. Reynolds Awitty, Deputy Director of New Careers in Nursing, a program funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, states patients are much more receptive to healthcare providers of similar cultural and ethnic backgrounds, and that may well translate to gender as well. As Americans are gaining health insurance through the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, healthcare organizations such as hospitals and outpatient facilities are demanding more nurses to fulfill positions. Dinwiddie feels that promoting male nurses will make certain patients relate more easily to nurses of the same gender. It may make them more comfortable. Male nurses portrayed in media and advertising. You may have heard society and the media referring to male nurses as nurses. The old stereotype of nursing being a woman's profession needs to be abolished. Male nurses display more masculine traits than men of other professions. According to Raquel Rettner, who wrote the article, Male Nurses More Masculine Than Other Guys, shows that a new study that male nursing students scored higher than other college men in terms of masculinity. We need to break the stigma of male nurses being effeminate. This effeminate characteristic has existed for decades and reinforced by culture. This discourages men from entering the profession due to media drawing attention to this image. But we must remember the previous slide in this presentation that males are overcoming the stigma and breaking away from the ideation of being nurses. Male nurses on television. Women dominate the nursing role on television in the past. However, as more male nurses are entering the profession, we are starting to see more males on television. The famous show Nurse Jackie has Stephen Wallen playing the role of the nurse, Thor Lundgren. He was characterized as smart, strong, and funny. He was shown saving patients and trying to help Nurse Jackie. Next, we have the television show Scrubs. Rick Schroeder played the role of Paul Flowers. Although Paul was only on a few episodes in the show, he made a huge impression by putting up with Dr. Kelso's remarks stating, "That's a woman's job, son," but showed society how he was comfortable being a male nurse while also showing his masculinity side. Lastly, the show Private Practice has Chris Lowell play the character William Dell Parker. He as well made an impression as a qualified nurse and began training actually to become a midwife. Therefore, you can see how male nurses are becoming more of a norm, and television is accepting the gender in the nursing profession.
Fortunately, in spite of the negative gender bias, both historically and currently in nursing, there are a number of things that we can do to help make a more positive, less sexist image of nursing, both on a wide basis in advertising and media, and also on a more personal level. Let's look first at improving media portrayal of nursing. Here we have a couple of examples from 2002. On the left, from the Workforce of Central Florida, and on the right, from the Oregon Center for Nursing. Each of these posters were clearly designed to draw men into the field of nursing. They're standing in traditional male poses, feet apart, staring straight at the camera, almost daring you to judge them. Each of the nurses has underneath them a caption saying what field of nursing they work in, and also something else about them. Some of the captions include things like rock climber, bass guitarist, black belt, things that we would traditionally associate being male hobbies. The end result of advertising like this is really reinforcing the gender essentialism that pushes men away from nursing in the first place, and that tends to draw women into nursing. The take-home message is women are good nurses simply because they're women, but men are good nurses in spite of being men. Conversely, let's examine an ad campaign from 2016 by the Saskatchewan Union of Nurses called Making the Difference. This campaign has a number of really important details, including facts about what nurses do in their day-to-day jobs, studies demonstrating how registered nursing care increases patient safety and decreases healthcare costs. And finally, it draws everything together with patient stories that really personalize why registered nursing care is so essential to healthcare. Even more importantly to our current discussion, this campaign includes both male and female nurses with absolutely no reference to gender. The take-home message is twofold. One, registered nursing care is indispensable to healthcare. And 2, nursing is for humans, period, with no reference to sex or gender. These are the type of advertisements that we really need to continue to see if we really intend to change the narrative surrounding nursing. Ultimately, if we are going to change the narrative surrounding gender stereotypes in nursing, we have to be willing to make a change, not just on a grand level with advertising and media, but also on a more personal and intimate level. We can do this by challenging the gender essentialism we see around us. We don't have to accept that someone has to take a certain job or has to behave a certain way simply because society dictates it. Like Baresh and Gordon argue in their book, From Silence to Voice, each and every one of us can be agents for change. No longer do we have to accept the virtue narrative that says that nurses are angels simply there to carry out the wishes of doctors. Instead, each of us can help change the narrative into a more holistic understanding that nurses are absolutely essential to healthcare, regardless of their gender.